Right, here we are with the yellow lab Malawi Cichlids. Let's have a quick look at what's going on in the tank. They're coming through. I'm basically showing a breeding setup here. Why is it a breeding setup? Well, at the end of the day, what we have is a bunch of Malawi Cichlids that at the end of every day, beginning of every day, will just eat anything. Now, they are vegetarians, but at the same time, they're not really. It's not like they're going around just eating a green algae. No, they basically are eating everything they can get their hands on, and that includes the young. So, what do we do about the young? Well, I've watched these guys eat so many young in a very fast, rampant way that the best thing to do is either to have a small grass deck or have a grass that's hard to move around for the big fish in. So we've got basically, if I just take a look over here, see these fellas over here, we got them having a lovely contrast against this green as well, but in here when I look through them, there are a couple of larger mouths. Now the females generally, being mouth brooders, will hold the eggs in their mouths and they will expand a bit. So what we're going to do, because I think I see one at the back, is we're going to feed the tank. Now why we're going to do this is we're actually looking for the ones that may swim up to the food but don't eat, and that's going to be our clue on which ones are actually pregnant. So let me just drop some frozen feed in here because we want to control how they swim around. We want them basically close to the top. So let's put the first block in. Let's have a look. Typically, well, they all disappear out of scene. We can just come back around here a bit. Just get a bit more onto the top. So there they are down the middle, and actually they all look like they're eating. There's a couple of loners. Looks like we're going to have to follow the block, as it were. Come back around here. Now I thought the one straight ahead was actually brooding because she had a lower chin than the others. So I'm just going to drop the second block in now, see what happens. Goes in as well. And we just basically watch how they cluster. Now bear in mind we're still looking for the ones that go there but don't do anything, and those that are a bit confused. So what can we see? I'm not actually seeing that any, maybe. There's one, so there is one down the bottom. No, I'm wrong there as well. So we are missing a good female swimmer. I thought straight ahead. That one with the droopy mouth. No. Maybe, maybe not. However, so what have we done? Well, we have an encouraged environment anyway. First thing to always do to try and get your fish to breed is to try and give them anything that's as close to real food or fresh food as you can. In this case, of course, they have been eating the hair algae, surprisingly. I've brought in from the other tank. They've been doing a great job of tidying up this ball weed I've got in the corner over here, just over there on the right hand side, that looked like it was kind of covered in green hair algae. So I thought I'd have an experiment and just see if they were going to eat it. So luckily they've been doing a great job of clearing it up, to the extent where I wonder a couple of days from now if it'll actually be totally clear. However, meanwhile, back to this tank. So we've got this tank basically set at a typical 24 degrees centigrade, which is ideal. You know, whilst they seem to have listed temperatures that are a bit more controlled, realistically these temperatures can go reasonably low at the same time. Just like any river, or a lake, I guess, because they're from a lake, is that the temperatures can change depending on whether it's raining or what time of the year it is. So quite tolerant these guys. I've not actually in any of my fish keeping had any diseases, but it has to be said these cichlids are some of the easiest to look after. Now I've not looked after any of the South American cichlids. I've only had African cichlids, and I was stuck to obviously this particular yellow lab species. And there's a guy in the middle looking a bit chewed up. To keep this species in the know. Now that one straight in the middle, which is turning around there, you can see it's got a lower mouth. It looks like, is there something in its cheeks? Whilst it can look like a male, sometimes they can actually be females without you knowing. It hiding at the back as well could be a case of it being a female. He's just avoiding the attention of the other fish. Well, we'll see, because obviously this grass net is down for it to try and put some youngin out there. So we're going to try and encourage that anyway. Of course, the cheeks are quite expanded on that fish as well. So I do think it's a female. However, what have we got? So I'm not worried about disease. I've got a fantastic Eheim 350. I know there's a lot of people who don't like the Eheim 350s, but works like a dream for me in this dual tank. I can't remember what size it is, but I think it's 96 litres. It might be 125, I can't remember. But it's got a curved front. I'm not actually too happy with a curved front, and it's kind of a something to bear in mind in the future. It scratches easy, so I clean with a sponge now to try and avoid anything that's likely to scratch it. But it's the only fish tank I've ever had where I've actually got to worry that anything metal might actually scratch the inside of the glass when you're cleaning it. So just sponges on this one. However, here we are, day one. Now I may change the environment because I might actually try and put some more plants in here to grow. Now we do know that Malawi cichlids don't like to eat ferns too much, so I might go back to trying to grow some Java fern back in here, and hopefully I can get the parameters in a good place. I think the one problem I could have is the light might be too bright, but it doesn't half make the tank look pretty though, mind. But the light might be too bright, and let's just tilt down here. Bloody hell. You can see at the back there, there's a female just sticking her head up. Shall we try and zoom in on her? We'll just see if she comes to the surface a bit. But as you can see, this head will come up any minute now, and you'll probably be able to see the cheeks. Let's get close so she doesn't run too much. Just want to bring her in. No, she's hiding a bit. I think this is the there she's popping up now. So you can see the cheeks, and I think it's like one of those things where you can see the cheeks and you can see that the mouth is full. A way of identifying if it's female. So, and I know that they basically say more likely to be more yellow, but over time, this is the 6th generation in this tank these fish are now at, and the thing about that is that they've evolved from their own brothers and sisters, shall we say, and you don't really know what to say about what that does to the actual genetics, because over a while all of these fish are starting to look exactly the same. Before, it used to be that I could see the yellow, the more of the yellow in the females, and the males are obviously carrying a lot of black, whereas now it's kind of, we can spot some females quite easily, but some of them surprise me on not being there's a female there and a female there, and there's typically a male. There's an obvious male, so we can still tell there's a male as well, but we don't have the same telltale signs as you'd think, and it's quite easy to confuse them if you can't see the subtle differences. Anyway, this is our Malawi Cichlids. Now, I have in some terms fed them red bloodworm. There is a mention that maybe you shouldn't, because give them too much protein and it can be bad for their guts. However, I don't see, I've never seen any issue with it myself. I think it could come down to how the water's being treated as well. If I give them too much protein and then they have too many nitrates or nitrites floating around as well, maybe you can set off a small disease. But lucky for me, I practically got 0 nitrates and nitrites. Water is hard, it's the area I live in, but also at the same time it's ideal for these cichlids. They kind of want to be in a pH of 6.8 to 7.8, but again, that's almost my tap water. Now, of course, I'd say that if you do have your carbonate in there because of the hardness, that it kind of helps the fish tolerate if there is a pH change. But at the same time, because of the carbonate, you find that the carbonate is going to control a pH spike as well. And what can I mean by a pH spike? Well, I could be going somewhere for 5 days and find that the water just clouds over, and the water pump and the filters are basically dealing with more poop than they intended. I get back, I wash out the Eheim 350, and then I put it back into the tank, and all of a sudden, bosh, a spike. Do I want a spike? No. But if there's enough carbonate in there, well, if there is enough CH in there anyway, it's we can hope that basically control the pH as well. So why is that all important? Well, obviously when all these brooders start to put new fish into the tank, we're going to want water conditions as stable as possible. So as time goes on over the next week or so, we probably just want to get more areas for these babies to hide in. Now, if I don't put that in there, I mean, separate to them being eaten, there's a possibility also that they won't breed anyway, knowing that their young won't survive. Now, here's an interesting thing down the bottom here. So we can see down here, and let's just get into this chap who's hiding away there. Now, he's hiding away, as you can see the dark lines on him. That's because he's not the alpha male. There is another fish in this tank that's basically more dominant, Now at this size, which is about 12 centimeters, I think, maybe 1, 2, 3, 3.5 to 4 inches anyway, is that it might be that he's just one of the older fish and one of the newer ones is more in command. As I say, 6 generations they've been in this tank, so that basically means that throughout the fish being bred in this tank, they've known nothing else, and they've only ever been with their own kind. Yeah, mouth brooders obviously. So we're going to see what happens when the next ones start. Here he comes in again. You can't feel sorry for them. If you do, you end up owning thousands of tanks of the same fish and keeping them all separate. Let's just zoom back out, see what we've got going on. A sign of the jewel. And swing her around. We'll just bring it around because they're swimming around hoping for more little foods. Yeah, they're crazy. They don't mind me putting my hand in the tank. They'd rather eat it if they could. Omnivores, whatever. They're basically not what they claim they are. They will literally eat anything if they can. I'm sure in the past I've had one choke on eating a label that fell into the fish tank as well. I did worry if all the other fish were suffering from some kind of spike or not. Now I may have mentioned before in the past how I've got the water filter set up as well. So rather than having one on the left and one on the right, water in and water out, I basically have the water at the top going around to the other end and then coming down and being picked up at the bottom, both of which, as we can tell over here, is on the left hand side. So on the left hand side, I'm saying that I created a particular water flow that makes sense to all of these cichlids. Now these cichlids don't particularly like it when their water makes no sense. If it splashes around in all sorts of directions, it can become irritating to them. So if you can actually create a proper water flow, you're going to find them a bit more friendlier than you'd expect, else they basically spend more time hiding away or more time trying to avoid the water flow because it's just irritating the hell out of them. However, I have been tempted in adding in a similar cichlid, one a bit more orange, just to see what would happen, because obviously with being so many generations in, you have to ask yourself the question is, how far can inbreeding go before it just becomes too far? So I've been thinking about adding one in. However, crazy things to do, whether we want to talk in dollars or pounds or euros, realistically they're all about 20 to 24, depending on where you want to see this. £20 a fish, $20 a fish, 20 euros a fish. Call it what you like, there's your average price. I started off with 6 some time ago, 8 years ago now, about 8 years ago. So I had a population up to 25. I think currently I've got 17 now. 17 of these fellas and ladies. But if I had a heater problem or something else goes wrong, that's quite a lot of money to lose. Start again would be a bit of an irritation, but what the hell, we've done it before, we can do it again. So how long do I expect them to live for? So we should get a good 5 years out of all of these fish. Because they're in captivity, you'd expect them to go a bit longer. But realistically, these fish live a good long time at this temperature. and all seem pretty happy. I'm sure that's a female at the back there. She's tucking down behind. See if we can get a face shot. She's hiding out. There she is there. Look at that. Oh, she's gone. Obviously didn't like me. Doesn't mind biting my hand, but obviously doesn't like the camera. Crazy. There they are, ducking down, probably because they've heard something outside, like a burglar. So they're obviously tucking away. Anyway, there we go. That's the world of cichlids, according to Andy. But in their breeding cycle, and they do seem like they do look pretty damn good against the green. So see you next time anyway.